Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community, welcome to the channel. This is the first time you are seeing me. Please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today is a video about the Sony 900H. It's about variable refresh rate. It's about the auto low latency download or firmware update being reconfirmed. Let's talk about it.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
So VRR, variable refresh rate, and auto low latency mode are back on the Sony 900H, or is back being scheduled on the Sony 900H as a planned firmware update for the Sony 900H. Now, this video isn't a retraction. I did a video a few days ago on my thoughts on the entire situation and if it was a big deal or not. But I was just on Spare Change. If you guys know Shane, if you don't know him, go over to Spare Change and sub to his channel. We just did a live stream as he had it straight from a Sony rep that he knows that it is still coming. And there was the chart, which I'll put up on the screen, which shows all the checks back where the checks weren't there before. So was it ever really gone? Was it speculation? It was everywhere for a week or so. I was asked to give my thoughts on it, and I gave my thoughts on it. So all I can say is, I'm only kidding! I'm only kidding! Anyway, I don't have to print a retraction. All I'm doing is telling you guys what I would think, and what I responded to is it would have been terrible for it not to be here. However, that said, we can keep going on it, because by putting the chart back up with some checks on it, saying it's coming, it's not about right or wrong. It's great news. So for those of you that are in the comments that are saying that I'm wrong, it's not a matter of being wrong. This is what was out there, and now it's out there that it's back. What's wrong is that it's taking so long. If it's being pushed back, now we're going to talk about this, we're going to stay with the follow-up video. My plan was to do a video when it was actually here, when they actually updated it. But Shane had the news from direct from a Sony rep. We had also heard it from Value Electronics. We all know Robert, that it was back on. But getting it from a Sony rep, where Shane did, we did a live stream, so now I might as well do a video on it. But yes, it's back on, but it's not there yet. And that's the issue. It needs to be done. And why the Sony 900H, again, we talked about this in the previous video, why it's an interesting panel, where it falls in Sony's lineup. It's a great panel. So I'm getting beat up in the comments a little bit about me putting the panel down. I personally think the 950H is a better panel. It is their flagship. The Sony 900H is just below that. What made the 900H unique was it was a fantastic value. It was offered in a ton of sizes. It gave people the ability to buy a larger panel at a lower price. What was absurd to me was that it was the only panel in the lineup that was going to have variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode. And other than the Z8H and the Z9G, was the only one that was going to have the ability to do 4K 120. To put it there in that lineup, and to also cut your flagship in half, including the AAH and the A9G, to not have those when the C9 had it last year made no sense to me. To the point of, and this is what I mean about timely manner updates, when this display was released, okay, in February, when I had the 950H from Value Electronics, I had that panel for 7 or 8 months. Because of everything that was happening, I had it for a very long time. I had the opportunity a few months later to take the 900H home to review that. My thought on that was, why review it yet if I don't have these updates? Why does that matter to you guys? Well, it matters because the panel served me no purpose, as its biggest strength was going to be HDMI 2.1. So I was going to wait. I had the opportunity to get it from Value Electronics. I was going to wait until it was updated to have it. Well, they never updated it. So, is it great news? It is great news. It's great news for all of you guys that have a 900H. However, whether they removed it, canceled it, delayed it, your delay in giving it and putting this update there, even in beta, in the forums or anything, you've opened yourself up, being Sony, for the speculation that it's not coming. So I highly doubt it was pulled out of thin air. It may have been delayed. I think what the rep for Shane was saying, that it was delayed. You have to come out there and say that. Don't just make it disappear off of a website. The flip side to that is the speculation that it's gone, just because the check marks are gone, doesn't just go away because the check marks are back on. What we need is that actual update. That's where Sony has to come through. The new panels are being announced, as we know. Last year's 950H came out a little bit early. It was in February, March. It is January. So the fact that you haven't updated the 900H yet is why you're put in this kind of incredulous situation where people don't buy what you're saying. Now, where this is troubling for 900H owners, and this is where I'm going to go back into the 950H, the AA-H, the other parts of the lineup. There is a big percentage of you that bought the 900H because it had these features. You didn't buy the A8H, you didn't buy the 950H because it didn't have these features. Fair, as long as they're coming. The problem is, if they're coming past when the new models release, it's a little redundant. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, putting that firmware update, forget about the Xbox Series X or the PS5, which doesn't even support it yet, which I understand. By not having that update out in a timely manner, you opened yourself up for this. So by saying, yeah, it's coming, it's still coming, but you have a whole new lineup of TVs coming that are going to replace this one, and your entire OLED lineup, they're all going to have HDMI 2.1. They're also going to have a new processor. So I hope you'll do what you say and put the 900H firmware update out. I do hope that. Here's the issue, though. People could have enjoyed the beginning life of their 900H. The first 4 or 5 months of it, they should have had that ability already. Now, if you have a PS5, it doesn't really matter to you, though I'm hearing from some of you that you're seeing, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is having some screen tearing. Now, the PS5 doesn't support it, so I think Sony thinks it's not a big deal. However, if you've had an Xbox One X or a Series X, you've been enjoying variable refresh rate for the longest time. If you have a TCL R635, you've been enjoying it this time. Same if you had a Samsung. But for Sony to have this model out this long, not update it yet, and then have these new, not the consoles, but your new panels coming out, that's going to make the group that bought this look now at the new lineup and say, well, now that the 950J has it, I should have bought that one. Now, tech is always that way. Tech will always have you second guess. Look, I have a CX. This one is going back tonight. I'm getting another CX. There's always that weird moment of, well, maybe I should get the C1. Maybe I should get this. Maybe I should get that. I'm fine getting another CX only because it has the features it promised. If it never delivered some of those features, I would probably go with next year's models. Now, they'll be more expensive initially. Sony's pricing is usually pretty fair, but some of you might have chosen an OLED instead. Now they'll all have HDMI 2.1. It's going to anger people. So yes, it's fantastic news that it's back on. I'm not going to say, I'm sorry I put out that video. I'm sort of kidding. But you asked my thoughts on it. Those are my thoughts on it. But here's my thoughts on it. You got to put these updates out in a timely manner. I'll use the Dolby Vision update scenario from a few years ago. Yes, you finally put it out. It was mentioned in Shane's comments on his video. Please go back and watch the live stream that we did on Shane's channel. That yes, they delivered Dolby Vision. Yeah, they did. They delivered it very dark. They delivered it late. It also didn't work with the Oppo. It didn't work with the Panasonic. And if you deliver a firmware update that isn't, say that Dolby Vision is still dark, there's no way to disable it. You were stuck with a dark Dolby Vision. You couldn't even turn it off on the display's smart features to watch Netflix and change it. You were stuck with that. So I think many of you, if they're doing these updates for the new processors, right, the new panels, and your update is coming, will it be as good? We've already talked about 4K 120 maybe being a little bit blurry. I have not seen it in action myself. I was going to get the 900H even recently, but since it didn't have the update, it served no purpose. I'll be looking to get the next year's panels from Value Electronics for me to review. So that just shows you right there, the 900H is not something I even wanted to review. I'm not putting it down, don't get me wrong, but it served no purpose without those features for me to check into. It's a channel for technology, but also with gaming. So I wanted to be able to show you those features as well, but they never materialized. And for me, that's the issue. By delaying it so long and taking so long, why not have these features when you're ready? Why not when you launch your panel? The 950H, apparently, from what I've heard from Sony people, just came out too soon. It was earlier than the 900H. So the 900H was later. Well, you knew it was coming out with this. My opinion is the processor is going to struggle. Just like the LG struggled, the Samsung, they're all struggling with the HDMI 2.1. So I would have blamed Sony, don't get me wrong. I would understand if they were just saying, look, we can't do it. But I think all the yelling on YouTube, all the yelling in forums has gotten their attention. I think they're still going to go through with it. Do I think they were canceling it? Maybe they were delaying it. I don't know. All I know is you left yourself open to that speculation. The new Sony panels coming out, the Z9J, I mean, tell me why the Z8H didn't have HDMI 2.1 features like that. But anyway, the Z9J, your whole new lineup is not going to have those features day one. That's what we're hearing. That's still speculation, but my point is, I'm going to buy a brand new Sony, fire it up, and on day one, I can't use variable refresh rate? Auto low latency to me is not a big deal. It's just instant game mode for me. But you promise these features, and I'm just here to tell you that if you deliver them when you're supposed to, or for instance, so they put the checks back on the chart, right? As Shane put them on the screen, I'll put them on the screen too if I can. You checked it back off. Cool. But where's the date? Where's your release date? Even with the CX, when I had, this thing's been updated like 10 times. I had the update that many of the people in the forums had. I had it on USB. From what I understand, this update isn't even out there in the wild in forums. Which is why we do get crazy in the comments. We do get crazy on YouTube or Twitter or in the forums. So whether it's a rumor or speculation, it was out there. That's why I did my video. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not doing a retraction. But I am following up with it, apparently from a rep. But to do a full change, I need to see it. So my video wasn't going to come out until I actually saw it. It was done. So I would say to Sony, bravo. I'm glad you were following through. That's great. However, deliver it. Because you know that it's not going to be just one firmware update. It's not effortless. They take several. So how long are loyal fans of that panel supposed to wait? Again, Sony 900H is an excellent full array local dimming LED. It's 4K. It's a great value as well. It's got great picture quality. But a lot of people chose that panel instead of other ones in its own family. It's not like you're saying, I was going to get a Q90, but I got a 900H. Or I was going to get a CX. So Shane had asked me in the live stream, do I think that Sony lost out on sales of the 900H because they didn't deliver the update in a timely manner, and that they should have gone with an LG or a Samsung? My response to that is no. The display, I think, is the highest selling Sony last year. It was an absolute home run because of its value. But the CX and the Q90, they're more expensive. But you might have stayed in that same family. It's one thing to say the other companies didn't beat it or they're more expensive. In your own Sony family, there was competition you didn't go for. I'll give you a perfect example. The 950H, right? Sony's always very good about keeping stock. So you could still get a 900F right now. They're still out there. But the 950H, and why it's so important this time of year while CES is happening, is weighing which one you want. So if you were saying, okay, 900H, it costs this. Well, what if a 900H at the same size costs the same as last year's 950G, which is so close to the 950H? I know I'm all 950. Do you follow me? You could have afforded a higher end last year larger model. You didn't make that choice because of these features. Now, 4K 120, please tell me in the comments if you are enjoying that feature on the 900H. I've read about it being fine, not being great. I don't know enough to speak on its performance. Please tell me if that is a feature you're very happy with. How important is this to you? Either way, it's great news. I'm more than happy to tell you how happy I am that it's happening. But it's not right or wrong, guys. Sony opened themselves up to this by not releasing it. And if it was a clerical error that it was removed off a certain website, however this got brought out there, it wasn't from just one source. It was from many. So many of you will say, well, wait until it's solid. Guys, this kind of pressure from social media gets these things to happen. You know, Shane mentioned in his video, they're doing a Zack Snyder's cut for Justice League because of the outcry from communities. It doesn't have to be toxic outcry. It's just feedback. It's unacceptable. Love Sony. My favorite TV of all time is a 900E. I have it upstairs. But I would have been furious. Not just that it wasn't coming, but where is it? The Series X, fine. The Xbox One X has been out forever with variable refresh rate. TCL, your competitor of the 900H last year to me was the TCL R635. Had a variable refresh rate. Not 4K 120, but it had a variable refresh rate. For you guys that want to enjoy a seamless, smooth experience. So, Sony, bravo. Just actually put it out there. Putting check marks on a chart doesn't really change it. Put it out there so then we can do a real video on it saying, great, it's back. All right, guys, that was my follow-up video to that other video. But that other video, whether it's there or not, the points made in that video are still valid. You should still have it. It should be here by now. And next year's Sonys, which are actually this year's Sonys, 2021, you should have them at launch. All right, guys, thank you as always. I will see you in the comments. Take care.